In today's gospel, the Lord gives us the opportunity to reflect and think on how can we be good example for others, and our responsibility to respond to our call to holiness, that call that we receive on the day of our baptism. It is good from time to time to reflect and think, what type of Catholics we are, and not necessarily that we are doing something bad, but, how well are we living our Catholic faith? Are we being true images of Christ to others? Are we truly following the gospel? Are we truly being faithful to what the Lord expects from us? So we'll have the opportunity to reflect on today's gospel and then go home and think about it, and make a sincere evaluation of our lives. How are we living our faith? Not only, how we live our faith when we come to church to praise and worship the Lord, but, how do we live our faith out there, at home, at school, with our families, with our friends, even in our social life. So, este domingo tenemos la oportunidad de reflexionar en cómo vivimos nuestra vida, la vida de fe que tenemos, nuestra vida como católicos. Qué ejemplos somos para los demás, y si permitimos que los demás puedan ver en nosotros el rostro de Cristo. Es bueno de tanto en tanto evaluar nuestra vida y ver cómo estamos viviendo nuestra fe, si estamos siendo fieles al Evangelio, no solamente cuando venimos a la iglesia, ¿verdad? Cuando venimos a adorar al Señor, pero en todos los instantes de nuestra vida, ¿no? En la casa, en la escuela, en el trabajo, incluso en nuestra vida social, cómo reflejamos el Evangelio en nuestras vidas. And in today's gospel, Mark presents us once more a situation, a common situation in the life of the apostles and the Lord. And in past Sundays, if you remember, the Lord, gets after the apostles because they present to him certain things that is not quite what the gospel is about. He's called them. Remember a couple of Sundays ago, he tells Peter, get away from me, Satan, right? Because Peter was trying to, discourage him from going to Jerusalem. Remember these gospels that we have been reading is the journey of the Lord towards Jerusalem. So Peter tries a couple of Sundays ago in the gospel to discourage him from going, saying, you're doing so well, why do you want to go to Jerusalem and die? Because the Lord had explained, I have to go there to die for the salvation of all and so forth. So the Lord needs to, give Peter a lesson and saying, you don't really know what you're talking about. I have to go to Jerusalem. I have to give up my life for the salvation of the world. Then last Sunday, we hear some of the disciples also discussing who was the first or who was better. Remember last Sunday? And again, the Lord calls them and said, no, this is not what the gospel is about. It's not about who's the first, but who's the last. Si nos recordamos desde hace algunos domingos, hemos estado viendo en el Evangelio escenas muy comunes de la vida de los apóstoles y el Señor Jesús. Hace 2 domingos, Pedro trata de disuadir al Señor de que no vaya a Jerusalén, ¿no? Porque él dice, tengo que ir a Jerusalén para morir y salvar y dar la salvación. Y Pedro dice, pues si estamos haciendo tanto bien, pues ¿para qué quieres ir allá, no? Y el Señor fuertemente le dice a Pedro, apártate de mí, Satanás, porque no sabes lo que estás diciendo, ¿no? Y el domingo pasado, también una situación muy común, los apóstoles discuten entre ellos quién es el mejor, ¿no? Y Jesús nuevamente tiene que decirles, no se trata de eso, no se trata de quién es el mejor, pero quién es el último y quién es el que sirve a los demás. Today's is not the exception. Today's gospel, again, the apostles, thinking that they're doing something right, they stop someone from driving out demons. And they go to the Lord and said, we learned that some were doing this and we stopped them because they're not one of us. And again, the Lord, gives him this teaching. If they're not against us, they are with us. Why are you stopping from doing it? We have to learn from this situation. Sometimes the call to holiness is given to every baptized. Right? We all receive that call to holiness. And the Lord can use anyone, to build the kingdom of heaven. He can use any of us. ¿No? El Señor puede usar a cualquiera de nosotros para construir el reino de los cielos. Y hoy vemos en el Evangelio cómo sus apóstoles van con él y le dicen, supimos de uno que está sacando demonios en tu nombre y se lo prohibimos porque no es uno de los nuestros. Y Jesús dice, quien no está contra nosotros, está con nosotros. Y podemos ver que el Señor puede utilizar a cualquiera para construir ese reino de los cielos. Y cada uno de nosotros que hemos recibido ese llamado a la vida de la santidad, tenemos esa posibilidad de ayudar al Señor a la construcción del reino de los cielos. Y no podemos poner obstáculos. Sometimes we are the first ones to, isolate people, and say, how can this person, trying to do good or be better or do what is good, right, and just, if I know the past of this individual. Sometimes we caught ourselves judging and not allowing others, to build that kingdom of heaven. And the Lord gives everyone the opportunity to help them to build that kingdom, to help them to be that example for others, to help them to build the church, to help us to go to heaven. So we have to be aware that the Lord gives this opportunity to everyone. And not be like the apostles saying, no, this is not one of us, right? Because it thinks different, because it looks different, because it acts different. So we have to be aware, we as Catholics, as Christians, of not judging and not letting others to help the Lord to build that kingdom of heaven. If they have the right disposition, if they receive this call, if they are acting to do what is good, right, and just, we need to allow them to do that. Then the Lord continues in today's gospel and gives some examples of how to act if you are committed sins, or if you're not doing what is good, right, and just. Gives examples if your hand causes you to sin, cut it off, and so forth. We should not take this literal, but that we should do whatever it takes to be a good example for others. We should do whatever it takes to allow others to see Christ through us. Continúa el Evangelio de hoy diciendo el Señor lo que tenemos que hacer para poder ser mejores, para no pecar, pues. Y pone ejemplos, dice, si tu mano te causa pecado, si tu ojo es causa de pecado, si tu pie, córtalo. No tomamos esto literalmente, pero sí que tenemos que hacer lo que sea necesario para poder ser buenos, para poder estar en la gracia del Señor. Y muchas veces esto toma cambiar nuestra manera de ser, nuestro carácter, ¿no? Que a veces esto se podría comparar con algunos de los ejemplos que oímos en el Evangelio, porque nos cuesta mucho cambiar la manera que somos, la manera que actuamos, la manera que reaccionamos. Pero si esto es necesario para poder llegar al cielo, tenemos que hacerlo, ¿no? Si ciertas maneras de pensar o ciertas maneras de actuar nos impiden nuestra llegada al cielo, nos impiden ser buen ejemplo para los demás, pues tenemos que cambiarla. So sometimes our characters, our ways of acting, situations in our lives, ways of thinking, prevent us from, going to heaven in the right path, or give not a good example to others. So in today's gospel, we have this invitation. We need to do whatever it takes so we can go to heaven. And secondly, so we can be a good example for others. In today's world, it is easy not to think of others. Well, I have my way of thinking and my way of acting, and this is the way I am. And I don't really care, what others think or what others can see in myself. That's very common. This is what today's world is teaching us, You just be yourself, you show yourself the way you are, and, don't care about others. Well, the good example that we give, or the example that we give to others, it can affect others or make the difference in others. That's why we, people of faith, I'm talking to people that believe and hope in life eternal, it is our responsibility to give a good example. And remember that, whatever we say, whatever we do, it can affect someone else, positively or negatively. So we have to always be aware of be good examples for other people. We have to allow others to see Christ. And this can be part of our reflection today. Remember at the beginning I told you to take some time and think, what type of Catholic are you? This could be a good point of our reflection. In the things I do, I say, the way I think, can others see Christ through me? Or they only seen myself, And as baptized, as Catholics, as Christians, we have to let others see Christ through us. Because remember, we are helping the Lord to build the kingdom of heaven here on earth. And this is the only way we're going to change the world. That world that we criticize so much, that world that we all have to say something, the world is going into the wrong direction, and all those criticisms that we can have of our world and our society. Well, we can change it if we allow others to see Christ through us. Not ourselves, not our opinions, but what the Lord has to, give and tell others. So let's keep this in mind, my brothers and sisters, and reflect on this, and the opportunity that the Gospels give us, and put it in prayer as well to ask the Lord to help us to be a good example for others, to be true images of Christ to our brothers and sisters. Amen.